Delayed.
Wait, what does that even mean, though?
Is this a scam to offload from peak times or something?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Feature Crew. This week we got another release from OpenAI. They've shipped the beta version of their tasks in ChatGPT feature, so we don't know that much about it. We played around with it a little bit before starting the video. We're excited to put it through its paces and see what they have available. Okay, so we're loaded up into ChatGPT, and the way that you access, at least in its current form, the way you access the tasks feature is through the model selector, and it's its own dedicated model, and of course they call out that it's in beta view, and the main purpose of the scheduled tasks feature seems to be to get ChatGPT to follow up on a request later. So at its most basic level, we'll show you a super simple prompt here. We can ask ChatGPT to follow up with us later, and it can also do so on a recurring basis. So we'll start with the simplest example, which would be to follow up in 5 minutes with the results of a web search. So I'll ask it to look through the news, and then come back in 5 minutes and give me a brief news report. So ChatGPT's come back super quick, and it has created a task. It has the instructions to search for recent AI news. It doesn't include my extra instructions of making the report concise, so maybe we'll see what it comes back with. It might end up just coming back with the default ChatGPT search result. And you'll see we have some controls for when it happens. We can edit the sort of scheduling. We can also make it repeat. So if we wanted like a daily or a weekly news briefing, we could do that here as well. And then actually just to make it come in even quicker, I'll go ahead and change the time to 2 minutes from now. Through 2 minutes from now so we can show you the result in short order.
Delayed.
Wait, what does that even mean, though? Like, if they can detect it's delayed, then why haven't they sent off the thing? They're servicing millions and millions of... Is this a scam to offload to offload from peak times or something? They're like, we'll actually run it whenever we want.
Maybe just the UI is saying delayed. You know, the UI sees like, oh, the current time is 3:05, and thus you can put the delayed.
Time.now. We finally got the response back, but to give you the recap, it said delayed for a little while for the first minute or two after our scheduled time. We didn't see anything changing, switched views around, didn't see anything changing, so then refreshed, and then the response was there. So it seems like these asynchronous tasks aren't as asynchronous as maybe we would have hoped. But it did follow the instructions. It did some search for AI-related news. We can see the citations right here.
It does say at the top, a concise report.
Report.
Nice. Yep.
I'm wondering if it pulls in the conversation history to where the chat was created.
Yep.
So, I could see this being marginally useful, right?
Well, I mean, obviously this looks like it's a scheduled prompt. And to be fair, there are some small use cases that this is useful, but the fact that they're adding this in now is like a first step, right? Being able to actually automate some prompts you might use every day, it's not bad.
Chris, any thoughts on this?
No, I mean, I echo that. It seems like just scheduled prompts, so you can imagine what would you want to do, how would you want to schedule it. I could see people using this for research in industries they care about, or kind of building your own super simple newsreader kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think we're on to something here, which is that there aren't that many use cases right now, right? Like, the only thing we can get it to do asynchronously is generate a picture, which I haven't confirmed, or search the web, which we just confirmed. I guess the other general thing would just be to use ChatGPT's, built-in knowledge. But for most of those tasks, I'm not sure why I would be scheduling it, right? Like, if I have the prompt and I know what I want is done, and it's not going to rely on real-time information like web search, then why am I scheduling the prompt?
And I guess, in a way, it shows how these platforms can be generalized. I remember seeing, I guess you could do, language learning, like everyday prompt me. But to be fair, if you wanted to go deep in something, you're probably going to be like, I need to go study for 15 minutes, in which case, you're not really saving anything, right? Like, this really just does this scheduled prompt. But if you're already going to sit there for 15 minutes, you gain 5 seconds, I guess, of just waiting for it to come back. So, I don't know.
I think beyond sort of the scheduled piece, one thing I was interested in when I first tried this was, okay, if we're still waiting for some more function calls, agentic stuff that would make the scheduled thing more useful, can I at least start using it to help manage my tasks now? And so one thing that I tried was to ask it just to create a task, right? So like remind me. So it gave me a reminder, and then it's just going to function as a reminder. But now if I wanted it to, if I just wanted to add something to my task list, right? So this is the same prompt, but it's not time bound now, right? So there's no in a week.
Yeah.
And if I ask for this, I just want to add something to my task list, then sometimes it fails, and sometimes it just chooses a time.
Chooses a time. Okay.
And there seems to always need to be a time on a task because it's a scheduled prompt and there's this like expected follow-up. But what this means is you can't really just use the task list as a task list. You can't add to-dos. And then let's say you are able to get them in, but now I just want to query them. So if I ask ChatGPT what tasks I have coming up, I don't have any tasks currently.
Interesting.
This is a lie.
Can you ask what tasks you have coming up? Like ChatGPT? Does it identify as the owner of the tasks?
Do you have coming up? How many tasks?
And this is also a lie.
Yeah.
So,
but you can see the task list, right? Like if you go to the all tasks view.
Interesting.
Yeah. Could you say like, can you edit the task to cancel ChatGPT? Maybe if you give it a query that it then like hits the skill. Task to cancel. It seems to come with that name. Could you double check? So it's really just indexing on the task name.
Maybe, but it should. It should. It should have been able to find that based off the name. It seems like one thing that we've come to accept or come to expect from OpenAI is that when there's like a new feature, they really think through how it's going to interface with this ecosystem they're building, this essentially AI operating system they're building, piece by piece. And, obviously it's in beta and it just came out, and so we'll see if they add some of these features over time, but the just sort of like the general experience and how well it meshes with the rest of the app here is like sort of poor.
Right. We're not at Jarvis yet. It doesn't seem to have a lot of awareness. And we should show people you can see the task list. So this is a real thing we're asking it to look at.
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem to be aware of it in the chat pane.
So to Chris's point, I just had to create a task, and then if I go to, I have this like more info, and I can view all tasks from here. I don't know if there's another way to get here. You could obviously just go into the /tasks URL.
Huh.
But obviously we can see that
they have tasks.
There were tasks. There were tasks scheduled, and so those were saved, but it wasn't able to recall them in conversation.
Yep.
Right. It's not aware of this task list in conversation, which is really weird.
And is tasks on the sidebar yet, or not really? Right? Like
no.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe this is because you can't really edit them, so maybe they're trying to hide
beta
this.
features don't go in the sidebar.
That makes sense, yeah.
They live in the model select until it's out of
And
beta.
can you click on these? Does that bring up the UX to?
So if you click on them, to the conversation, but if I go back, I can bring up the UX to edit.
Okay.
Now, one thing to note here is, there is some traditional controls for like a normal, just one-time schedule. I can edit this all, in the UX. But then if I go to custom, I found this earlier and I thought this was interesting. It's like, instead of building the form that there's actually a direct parity to this. You can look it up and see in Copilot scheduled chats. They have UX for you to edit custom scheduling, which makes sense in a company where people are slower to adopt new technology. But to see this here, it's like, we won't even build that. We'll just open the chat and you can make the edits there.
It just feels like part of a bigger thing. Like this feels like, so they have the rumored operator idea, which is sort of an agentic framework. So this feels like a piece you need for that. But I am fairly surprised how tacked on it feels. Like, chat doesn't seem to be aware of it. I can't seem to be able to query it. Individual tasks are just different chat conversations. Very odd. Very odd.
And like, I know they've been talking about, this is like the start of the agentic future, but this is like the bare minimum. I don't even know if you can call it agentic. It's literally just an automation of a prompt, right? Like that's it. Again, when it starts to like chain together other calls and like make a novel output, then you're suddenly like, wow, that's cool. But really, this is just on your behalf, taking a prompt and entering it.
Mm-hmm.
But you could probably do that with the API anyway. No, actually, in fact, you could do that with the API, right? You could just make something that hits the API every day.
Yep.
And a lot of people are, I guess, educational folks and stuff might not have the technical chops to like stand up a program and use the API and stuff. So
I think
guess
the example would be IFTTT, like a no-code automation platform that's had a ChatGPT connector for free for, a year or something. And so it's like,
but that is technical, right? So I guess you're saving a little bit of time and for some people, but to your point, it's like if you really needed this, you could get it.
That what I explain is not technical in terms of actually doing it. It's technical maybe in terms of the people who would be interested in the IFTTT app, but that tells you something maybe, right?
Yeah. So maybe folks do start using this to like search news and stocks and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely feels like this is probably not in the spirit of being truly agentic and more just like as Chris said, maybe you need this moving forward, like you need like a asynchronous kind of like reminder or whatever, like running system. And so maybe they're building that for other projects and like, wow, we can just ship this. That's what it kind of feels like. It didn't really feel like this is.
Yeah, and yet, but they're missing a bunch of the asynchronous features. That's what's a little weird, right? Is like we didn't get a notification. It didn't run on time. It didn't update the UI when the thing came in. So it's like, if this is an investment in asynchronous, it's also half-baked in that regard too. It seems half-baked from any angle we kind of look at it. Again, it's in beta.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm sure that
great. Yep.
So one thing we've pointed out some of the shortcomings, specifically in what I would expect as some of the basics for a task management platform. And so, but I was able to find one use case that I think is really cool right now, and this kind of pushes on the integration between the various features in ChatGPT and its memories. And so one thing is, as I've been using ChatGPT over time, it's built up a pretty solid understanding, a pretty good base of memories for who I am, what are the things I do, what are the things I like to do. And so one way to sort of show that is to ask it, what am I invested in, right? To see if it understands my investment. And I did a little bit of seeding in memories before this to make it good for the demo, but this is very feasible to do on your own. So I can ask.
And for folks who are listening, like seeding, all he means by that is he entered a conversation with it and said, "I'm invested in these companies."
Yeah.
So there's nothing technical happening here. He just has a prior conversation talking about Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Tesla.
Yep. And so it's able to recall these. This is nothing new. We've seen this with memories for a while now. But when you start to see the overlap between memories and tasks, I can say, I'm asking it to every morning give me a financial report on the companies I'm invested in. I'm not telling it what those companies are, but because it has the memories and because we've seeded that information, it creates a task to send the financial report. And then when we go into the details, interesting. We debug that for a second. We see that like it didn't pull the actual ticker symbols into the instruction, so it's hard to say if it would know at runtime, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., if it actually would know what stocks. But we have seen it be able to, with no sort of additional prodding, be able to pull the correct information from memories and put it into the task details.
We tried to show you off, ChatGPT. We tried to give you credit here.
All right, we really tried to give you credit, but I'll pull it up so you can see from before. Like, this was where I told it.
Yeah.
It updated the memory, right? Put the correct information in, and then this is where I was able to get the
invoke the memory.
Invoke the memory, and then it put that correct information into the response. And I didn't say anything about those ticker symbols in the prompt. It was pulling that from memory.
And
so
some of those might actually work. We just don't know.
We don't know,
and we can report back on that. But yeah, that is maybe the overlap in which you can use memory. Again, though, it's kind of annoying that it isn't seemingly deterministic, that like, hey, like it's got me. That instructions that it's pulling in are surprisingly sparse because you have no idea what it's going to do. And it looked like it was using the conversation and stuff like that. So it's a little bit like, do you trust it?
And that trust conversation is very important because tasks, when they are for you, your personal task list that no one else looks at, is about helping you remember things, right? It's about like the fallibility of human memory. Yeah. As soon as you're sharing those tasks, it's like an anti-stress mechanism, an accountability mechanism, a trust mechanism, and it's like the details field is so you can put the stuff in there to make sure that the person who gets that task is going to follow those instructions. Yeah. And so while this is my sort of personal AI task list, I am collaborating on these tasks with the AI. And so part of building that trust is leveraging the tools that have been refined over the long history of of inventing productivity tools, both the analog form and then digitizing them.
Yep.
And so when we see these gaps and we see it not, not using the tools correctly, and then that leading to a lack of trust, it's like, I think that's one of the key areas where they really need to push on to make this a scalable and robust feature that people will actually use.
Cool to see them releasing stuff. Does feel half-baked, and to your point, not fully fleshed out. So excited to see it improve. Great to see this kind of like catching up to maybe other platforms. And will be interesting to see how actual ChatGPT users use this at the time.
100%. And we're month 1 of the agentic year, right? So we promised a year of agents. It's only month 1, so I can see this just being stood up to even get a sense for what people want. Like maybe that's it. They're just slowly trying to get a sense.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll be excited to share more as they release more.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helps you like grok what's going on with ChatGPT Tasks. We're gonna keep covering this as updates come, as we do with most OpenAI features, and do our best to cover all the updates across the industry. But we're not able to capture everything, so please leave us a comment and let us know what you want to see on the channel. And if you enjoyed the video so far, as always, give us a like, subscribe. It really helps us grow in this early state.
Absolutely. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye-bye.